Hi, today we're going to be doing a quick overview of the Pro version of Wi-Fi. This is version 2.0. This is the main screen. We have a new user interface for version 2.0. Basically what you've got here is your Wi-Fi scanner, channel scanner, a new tool called the pre-deployment tool, site survey tool, Wi-Fi manager, and a link to our YouTube channel. Also on this main screen, up at the top right hand corner, you've got a toggle button to enable the wireless card, and you also have another toggle button next to it that enables wake lock, so your screen doesn't go to sleep when you're walking around. Additionally, your menu button on the device will bring up another set of options where we have a help button, send feedback to us, our privacy policy, and our terms of service. Your Wi-Fi scan is the first tool on here, so we'll just jump in there real quick. This is basically just a Wi-Fi scanner where you can walk around and kind of take a look at what your wireless looks like. It'll show you everything that's audible, that's known to the device. It will show hidden SIDs if they're known to the device, but it won't show a hidden SID if it's not known to the device. Basically on this screen here, you've got the SID name and the broadcast MAC address of the radio for the access point. It'll update and show you the signal strength readings based on where you are, and a little graphical representation of that. You've got a padlock next to that that is going to be either green or red, depending on whether security is enabled for that wireless network or not. And then last, you've got another little icon, and if you scroll through and look, you'll see one of them, if you're connected to the wireless network, you're going to have a blue indicator here that's going to show you the access point that you're actually associated with. If you open the menu on the device down at the bottom, you get a couple more options. You're going to have a pause and resume scan. If you're in an area where there's a lot of wireless, this list can get long. As you scroll up and down, and it updates and refreshes the screen, it'll jump back to the top of the list, so you can pause it so it doesn't do that. You also have a detail view. The detail view will give you a little bit more information about the wireless networks, especially the one that you're associated with. So I'm just going to go in here and pause the scan for a second so I can scroll down, and you'll see the one that I'm actually associated with here with the little blue indicator. On that one now I can see my IP address, the connectivity speed, and frequency channel and security model that's in place. You can also tap on any one of these lines and get an option you can manage the connection, which is going to take you into the wireless connection manager for the device. Or you can say track signal source, and if you say track signal source, it'll bring up a larger version of that same screen. That makes it a little easier, especially if you're doing this on a phone, and if you're walking around trying to track down where an access point might be if you're close to it. It's a little easier sometimes to have this larger graph up. The next tool is the channel scan. Pretty simple. It's basically showing you the channels that are in use for the audible access points. You get a bit of a graphical representation so you can see your overlaps depending on which channels are in use. You can see here I've got several access points going. A couple of them are on the same channels. Channel 1's got two different radios on it. Channel 6, same thing. You'll get a little dot if you're associated with any of these wireless networks, and it'll show you that represents which access point you're connected to. So if I was to move around in Rome to the one on channel 11, for example, that little dot would move over there. You also can tap on the screen corresponding with the channel numbers at the bottom, and it'll bring up the channel details. And this is basically the same information you get on the Wi-Fi scan tab without having to jump back over into that tool. Up at the top right, you have your 2.4 and 5 gigahertz toggle options. So we can jump over to 5 gigahertz, and you can see that I've got one radio running right now on one of these dual band access points. And the same thing. It's just going to show you the channel frequency that it's on, and you can tap down at the bottom on that channel number and get a little bit more information about it. Alright, your pre-deployment tool is the next option that's on here. We're going to go into that. Basically the idea behind the pre-deployment tool is for you to go into an environment with no wireless, with one or two or three test access points that you want to be able to put in place and turn them on. Go around and take your samples, see what your coverage is going to look like, and then have the ability to pick those access points up and move them to a new location, fire them back up, take more samples, and basically the pre-deployment tool takes all these samples from all these locations and rolls it into one big survey to make it look like all those locations were live access points at one time. This enables you to turn access points on and off, introduce failure scenarios, whatever you need to do, and from the app, it looks like it's a live functional wireless network. We'll get into that in more detail when we do an actual pre-deployment video, but for now we're just going to go through and look at the main features. When you launch your survey tools, both the pre-deployment and the regular site survey tool, you get presented with a screen like this. Basically what you're going to do here is just create sites. And your site description can be anything that you want it to be. Doesn't have to, reference anything in particular as long as you know what it means. We're just going to call this one test. Now your SID needs to be whatever the SID is that you're wanting to collect samples on. And it doesn't matter if the device is connected to that wireless network or not. It can be active or passive surveys, but you need to identify the SID here. The SID is not case sensitive, so you can just enter the name. The wireless network I'm running right now is called Wolf, so I'm just going to add that in there, hit add site. I'm going to go down to the bottom, tap on it, say manage survey, and I'm going to get an option to load a floor plan. Tap on load floor plan. Google by default is going to add or show you the different tools that you have installed on your device that will allow you to manage images, but you need to stick with the gallery to have best results. Some app developers do not use common file path names for their images, so we've come across a couple of them that will fail to load a floor plan, but if you stick with the built-in gallery tool, you won't have any problems. So I'm just going to load a real simple floor plan here. Usability inside the app, you can just drag with your finger to pan, pinch it to zoom in and zoom out. And then the other main feature that you're going to be using in here is a double tap. Double tap is used to take samples and also place icons on the floor plan. So let's just jump over here and place an icon first. Your toolbar up across the top in order. Starting with the left, the first icon is your sample mode. That's the mode you need enabled for you to go around and double tap and take your samples. The next one is the icon gallery. The one after that is your filter list. The fourth one from the left is the undo button. The fifth one is the settings button. After that you have a landscape lock button. Basically if you enable that, it doesn't matter which direction you turn your tablet while you're doing your survey, your screen won't flip. And that's really nice if you're in a big environment and you're looking at your tablet and trying to figure out exactly where you're standing or which way you're facing inside the building so you know which room you're going into. That'll prevent the screen from flipping back and forth on you. The last icon at the top, if you hit that, that opens up the other tools in the suite. You can jump to your Wi-Fi and channel scan and Wi-Fi manager from in here, take a look at things if you need to, then jump right back out and come back into the survey tool. Across the bottom of the screen, you've got an option to change your floor plan and take a survey snapshot over here. Basically all that is a screenshot. Some devices it's real easy to take screenshots on. Some are not quite as easy, so we added that in there for those of you that's got devices that aren't real screenshot friendly. You can just press that button. Like I do right now, it'll pop up with a little screen, ask you what you want to name the file. It'll put a image file in that location. You can go get it and share it. Just going to cancel that. Let's go back in here. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm just going to put down an access point icon. I'm going to double tap once I've selected it. Get some options here. Let me get rid of this keyboard so you can see. Your device manager is going to have two description lines that you can fill out. You're going to have a MAC 1 and a MAC 2 option. Your description with the pre-deployment side is mandatory along with the MAC address. And every time you move that access point, you're going to have to give it a different description name. So what I typically will do, when I put my access points in place first, I'll say location 1 will be my description name. And I'll select the MAC address, I'll take my taps. I'll unplug that access point, I'll go to the next area where I want to survey, I'll plug it up, place a new icon down, call it location 2, select the same MAC address because it's the same access point, take taps, and continue on. You can do this as many times as you want. You can do this with multiple access points at the same time as well. The key element here is every time you move your access point, you place a new icon with a different description and the same MAC address. That way you can build all this together, but the app knows that this is a new location physically for that piece of hardware. So the other option you've got up here is a box that you check. It says survey this location. You need to have that box checked for you to be able to take samples. So wherever your hardware is at physically and turned on, that icon that represents that location needs to be the icon that's got that box checked at that time. We're just going to call this you know, test, location, 1. I'm going to hit the little search button next to the MAC address, and it'll show me all the audible access points in the area. I know that this one right here is my 2.4 gigahertz radio for this little Cisco 1100 that I've got, so I'll just select that for MAC 1, and I'll hit the other search button and scroll down to the bottom, and know that this one is my MAC 2 address. It's gone backwards, excuse me, 6, there it is. Alright, so now if I hit save on that, I get my icon showing up with my label on top of it. As a matter of fact, if I long press on that icon, I can go back in there and get those same options to make changes. And I'm going to go ahead and click the survey this location button, and you'll see the difference. Now I've got a green box around it. That's telling me that that's the audible access point. That's where it's at right now physically. So if I was to go ahead and populate a couple of different locations on here where I know I'm going to be testing, just so I can get my icons laid down and my descriptions filled out, then all I have to do is I move my access point to those locations. I would just long press on them and then enable this location, take my taps, and then move on to the next spot. Alright, so to continue on though, once you place your icons to start taking taps, you have to go back and enable survey mode. So I'm just going to click on that first little button. And now once that's enabled, I can start double tapping and walking around taking samples. Obviously I wouldn't take samples this way, but just to show you. As you take samples, you'll notice that we have dynamic labels now over the icons. So every time I take a sample, I don't know if you can see that very well. Every time I take a sample, it'll update the signal strength if it changes. I'm so close to this thing, it's not changing much. Bear with me a little bit. So you get the idea on that. What's nice about that is I'm taking taps. Granted, I've got color correspondence over here that I can use on my chart to let me know kind of what my signal strength range is. But this tells me exactly to the decibel what I'm getting every time I take a tap. Other things that you can do inside of here, you can long press on a sample that you've taken and delete that one sample. And you can do the same thing for an icon. You can long press on an icon, and you've got a delete option at the bottom that you can delete it there as well. Now, we're in the survey side of things versus the pre-deployment side of things. So this is a tool you're going to use when you've got wireless networks already in place. Again, you can do active and passive surveys here, but if you will do an active survey, if you can connect to that network, we can give you a little bit more information about the wireless network as you're taking your survey. In particular, you have a yellow box around the icons here that's going to represent the access point your device is associated with. This is nice because it can help you troubleshoot roaming issues. So in this situation here, I've got 3 access points. You can see them. If I was going through my facility taking taps along the way, and tap, 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 and as I get closer to this one, you'll see that box move to this one, and I'm taking taps up here, and I get close to this one, you know, that box will move down there to show me the roaming capability of the device. But what's nice is if you have roaming issues, or if you've got an access point with a security model mismatch, and for some reason devices aren't associating with it, and you're taking this path and your device never connects to this one and it goes straight from that one to that one, you know, when you're expecting it to do something else, then that can highlight issues that you've got on your network that you need to address. So I'm going to show you how this works. Since I'm connected to my TV, I can't really make my device roam, so I'm just going to fake a roam, and I'm going to unplug this access point that I'm connected to right now. This is the one I'm associated with. So now you can see my last tap, which access point I was associated with. So if I was to come in here and take another tap, now that's going to update, moved over here, and show me the new access point that I'm associated with. So I'm going to go around and be taking my taps, and you can see that that's the one that I'm on. If for some reason I was to roam to the other one, then you would see that go up there. Same tools at the top as the pre-deployment. You've got your survey button, you've got your icon gallery button, filter list, undo, tools, wake lock, and then you've got a drop down that'll take you into the other tools in the app. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple other things in here, and this applies to the pre-deployment side too. First, I'm going to take a few taps, and you can see in here I've got 3 icons down, And as I'm taking taps, you're getting the dynamic readout for the signal strength of all three of them, since they're audible. Now, if I was in an environment where my device didn't hear all the access points, it's just going to update the ones that it can hear. But at a glance, as I'm tapping, I can see what my signal strength is from all the different access points that I can hear from where I'm at. A couple other things in here real quick. The little wrench at the top of the menu, your tools or settings option. If you click on that, you've got, this is where you can define how you want your labels to look. You can turn information on and off, whether you want to see your first or second description fields or both. You can see your IP address and MAC address. If those things are, obviously the MAC address is going to be assigned. If you put an IP address in there, you can see that as well. You can turn those things on and off. Another thing that you can do is adjust the size of your icons that are on the map, and also adjust the size of the tap. So how big that circle is when you take taps. So I'm just going to take the tap size and drop it down real low so you can see what I'm talking about. Hit OK, and you see how small these are. The bigger your survey is and the bigger your floor plan is, the more you have to zoom in to be able to take taps in these smaller areas. You're going to want those smaller circles. Otherwise, you're going to take one tap and it's going to look like it's taking up a whole room, you know, where you really want to be able to take 10 or 15 taps in a room maybe. So it's nice to be able to do that, give yourself a little bit more room to work with. Your filter view, third button from the top, kind of go through this real quick. Basically, your filter options, these are the tools that you're going to use to generate your different maps and views once you've taken your survey. You walk around, you've collected your samples now, and you've got options for several different things on here. We'll just go through them real quick. Access points is the first option on here. This right here is it's just here as a sub-filter for your different views. So if you're enabling the heat map and you're looking at everything, and you say to yourself, well, what would my wireless network look like if I didn't have this one access point, or if this one access point failed? Well, then you can come in here to your access list view and find that one access point you're talking about, and just uncheck it and apply it, and it'll take that access point, that icon, and all that data associated with it out of the picture, re-render all the maps, and show you what that network would look like without that device in place. So we're just going to leave that on for right now. Signal DBM, same kind of scenario. Basically, you know your wireless network, you know what kind of applications are running on it. You know what the minimum signal strength requirements are for your stuff to function properly. So in a lot of cases, it's not practical to look at data on a map that's too weak for you to use in a real life scenario. So you can come in here and uncheck ranges. So if you don't want to see anything below, say 75 dBm, you can uncheck those boxes, hit apply, and redraw all your maps without that data in there, so you can see where your edges are of usable wireless coverage. Below that, you get into your channels, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz stuff. Same thing, you can click on subfiltering and go through here and enable or disable certain channels depending on what you want to look at. We go into greater detail on all these. We've got videos for each one of these maps. I'd recommend you taking a look at those. Below that, once you get out of the channels, you get into the heat map. Again, like I said, basically the heat map is just going to be a colored overlay based on signal strength that will change colors as your signal strength is stronger or weaker throughout your environment and give you that visual representation of where you've got weak wireless areas. The AP Edge map is designed so that you can look at the edge of the signal from an access point individually. So whereas the heat map is best used looking at your wireless network as a whole, the edge map, the idea behind that is to be able to say, how far does my range go off this one radio? Turn that one off, let's turn this one on. How far does this one go? Turn that one off, turn this, and it helps you to look at your overlap, and that way you can make decisions based on your hardware for roaming capabilities and things like that. Tap points, you disable that and go back, and it takes the taps off the screen. You're going to want to turn that off when you're looking at your heat maps and your edge maps and stuff, because it just cleans the maps up. When you're looking at those views, you're going to be mainly interested in looking at the maps, and you don't want all the little circles overlaid on top of it. Go back in here, the survey path, that's the little blue breadcrumb trail that you see on there as you're taking taps. You can turn that off. Security, this right here basically is just going to tell you if your wireless network for each individual radio has security applied to it or not. Your interference map, this is a new map for us down at the bottom. Basically what this is designed to do, you're going to go through and you're going to take your survey. Let's say in our situation here, we're doing a survey on the wireless network called Wolf. So what you want to be able to do with the interference map is after you're done with your survey, you enable that, and you can see any outside wireless network other than the one you're focused on will get drawn out and show you where you've got bleed in from outside, or you've got overlay internally on your own network. You can identify rogue networks that's being fired up. You've got an employee that's plugged in a little access point under their desk that you don't know about. You walk around, you take your survey, and you come back, you click on your subfilters here, and it's going to show you every other SID that was detected while you was taking your taps. So in this case here, I've only taken a few taps, I've not moved much, but I do have 2 other wireless networks running here at the same time. So it's showing them to me, and if I was to enable one of those and apply this map, then it would draw out the areas and where that wireless network was detected. So again, we'll have a video just for the interference map so you can take a look at that, but just so you know that's what that does. Another new feature in 2.0 is you now have the ability to back up and share all of your surveys, both pre-deployment and regular site surveys. So to do this, go into the tool. I'm going to go into the pre-deployment tool, but it works the same for the site survey. If you use your menu button at the bottom for your device, you get option to import and export your surveys. You click on export survey, you get a little menu that pops up, and you can select one or multiple surveys that you've got saved in here, select export, give it a name, and hit save, and it'll wrap those up in a zip file and place it on your SD card. So once it's on your SD card, you can take that and put it on your Google Drive. You can email it, share it with other people. They can import it on their devices if they've got Wolf running on it. You can import it on other devices of your own. It doesn't matter if they're the same size. You can go from a 10-inch tablet to a 4-inch phone. Manufacturer doesn't matter. It takes the floor plan, all the data, all the samples, icons, icon placement, every bit of that stuff is wrapped up into that zip file. And to re-import, all you have to do is come back in here and go to your menu, click on import, point to that zip file, and it'll pull all that data back in and repopulate it, and you're good to go.